And welcome everybody to the show, Talking Scared episode. Who knows? Who cares? We're here. We're live. We're doing things. We got the Scarefactor on tonight. We're going to have him on here very shortly.
Scarefactor, we got the tulip brush, we got Mini Minister, we got some shit
Yeah,
going
let's
on.
talk about Mini Minister from Cuddly Creatures for just a second. I'm pretty stoked about this little
Mini
guy.
Minister.
He is number one, absolutely way more terrifying than the actual Minister. I think. I think he's way scarier than
Nick
actual.
even said, for some reason, Mini Minister is creepier.
Because Mini Minister is creepier. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Mini Minister, look at the little shithead, man. Like, I keep looking over in the camera, and I keep seeing the little shit.
He's just there.
He's just there. He's just there. So real quick, couple of
I'm
things.
glad you liked him for your birthday.
A couple of things before we jump into things tonight. Number one, Frighteningly Metal Fest 2 tickets are on sale. And why haven't you bought one yet? Daggone it. Go buy your ticket. They're all up for sale. $35 for that general admission. Going to get you into the festival. Going to get you into the concert. Going to get you into the haunt. $45 for the Insanity package on what could possibly be the only night Creepy Hollow Woods does their Insanity tour. That's not a guarantee. That's not official.
They may do it more, but they know for a fact that night it will be going down.
That's what we're hoping for. That doesn't. Well, obviously that night we're going to have an Insanity tour for sure. But that could be the only night that it happens. Yep. All right. So make sure if you want to experience Insanity, that's how you do it. And VIP packages, I'm not going to get into all the details for that because they eat up too much of our time this evening. But they're for sale as well. $85. Very important, Pooper. Get that front row access.
Very important, Poop.
Band meet and greets, shirts. I know I said I wasn't going to get into the details, so I'll stop right there. And I won't say anything else about it. But very exciting. And I am also very fucking pumped for Tuesday night trivia happening.
Yes, I am.
You guessed it. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night trivia. Had a little rundown. Had a little test run with it last week. Nick did an amazing job. And Nick, new addition to the team. He's been kicking ass and taking names.
For Nick.
Yeah, seriously. Big round of applause for Mr. Beiser. He has done some amazing things for us already. We're so excited to have Science Behind the Scare and Nick as an official part of Haunted Honeymooners. They are as official can be. So very excited for that. Very excited to have him be a part of the team. And that's all that good stuff. Nick's got a show on Wednesday. Yeah. I'm sorry, we got a show on Wednesday. The Collective Occult, who you heard in the lobby video. If you didn't get the chance, make sure at the end of the video to go back, check out the Collective Occult, listen to that good stuff that they got going on. We were able to change up the lobby video a little bit.
And that's always fun, too. We like to be able to switch out some of the music and stuff. So if you are interested and you want to throw music our way for a lobby video, we're always interested.
Yeah,
in
you never know.
Out, man.
You never know. No promises, but you never know.
It out,
you might get popped up on there one day. So right now we got the Collective Occult. Welcome to the Collective as our lobby video. We're going to have them on Wednesday night for Frighteningly Metal. Thursday night, Science Behind the Scare's back, and then we're taking a break for a couple days. I don't think there's nothing going on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Excuse me.
Full tilt again, and we have like 4 or 5 shows in 1 week.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But that is enough of all of that. I'm gonna click this button here. We're gonna listen to our wonderful daughter do her wonderful intro. Yeah.
Hey, I should ready. And you please have you there.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Talking Scared. We have Brian, we have Tyler, we have Nora, Scarefactor, we got everybody. I'm going to let you guys start off with the introductions because there's just too much for me to try to do. So, Brian, your lucky face was the first face to pop up, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for Scarefactor, and what brings you here this evening.
Well, what brings me here is I was held hostage by Tyler, and he said I was coming with them.
Very good. Well, Tyler's been with us before, and it was a bunch of bullshit first time around. So he needed backup this time. I understand. I understand.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I live in Central New York. I joined the Scare Factor last year, and I'm a former scare actor myself. So a couple of years ago, I wasn't able to continue acting because of my work schedule. So I decided I wanted to start reviewing haunts.
Very cool.
And I found the Scare Factor, and here we are.
Very cool. I like it. Brian, thinking back to the very beginning, before Scare Factor, before you were a haunt actor, before any of that jazz started, what's some of your very first memories of horror? What got you into this road?
Scaring the shit out of my stepsisters. Absolutely, just hiding in the shadows, waiting for my sister, and scaring the ever-loving shit out of her.
Very
It was
good.
great.
Very good. I like it. I like it. Let's switch over to Tyler here for a second. Let's get to know Tyler a little bit more, man. I know we've had you on before, but give us a little bit of a rundown. What's your role with Scarefactor? What all you got going on? And just a little bit of a brief history. What brought you here today, man?
Yes, I am Tyler, one of the co-owners of the Scarefactor, not one of the founding owners of the Scarefactor. That was a guy named Tom. He was a former haunt owner, and about 2010, actually, we'll go back to about 2008, is when it was a few years after Nora and I got together. I had never been to a haunted house before in my life.
I remember that.
And so her and I started going out, and she's like, we really need to go to a haunted house, really need to go. And I'm like, why would you pay money for somebody to scare the shit out of you? I just couldn't connect the dots because I hadn't been to one. And so I finally broke down. We got going through a haunted house, and I'm like, not really sure what to think, going through, and I'm like, all right, this is pretty freaking fun, because she was getting more scared than I was. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool. So we started doing a lot more of them. And then 2010, we found the Scarefactor, started doing some reviews, going to about 20 haunts or so a year, and things just kind of grew from there. The site was kind of outdated a little bit at the time. Like, this was 2011, 2012, and the site said, come back in 2007 and see what our awards look like.
Nice,
So
nice,
we're like, oh,
perfect.
wow. We're like, Tom, dude,
Perfect.
Tom, we got to get this updated. And he's like, I just don't have time, guys. And one thing led to another, and he offered to sell it to us. So we bought it and kind of made it what it is today.
Very cool. Very cool. Very
Let me
cool.
just say that haunt directory, gold.
Oh yeah, the hunt directory.
Thank
is
you.
amazing. Absolutely.
Thank
amazing.
you.
No, that
Thank you.
there's
No,
so much work goes into that, and anybody that just scrolls across that and doesn't realize. I know this just from running my own website, and I'm currently working on just building, not really even a directory, just a list of places we've been and what they scored last time we were there. And it is a lot of effing work just putting it together.
Let alone all the shit
Keeping
y'all
up
do
with it, let alone keeping up with it and constantly giving these updates. So I serious, big round of applause. That's dedication, that's hard work, and I promise they're not making a lot of money for it or anything like that at all.
no,
And
we are not.
I gotta admit too, we're on there all the time for the use of your alls.
We do. That's one of our.
It's the best one that I honestly have seen out there. Right
No,
now
it's
to try and go and
definitely.
find. You have all the holiday ones, you have all the year-round ones, and half the time if we're out just vacationing, we're like, see if there's a haunt open. We'll click your all shit, and there it is.
Well, thank you. That's what we do it for.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nora spends a ton more time on there than I do. I'm gonna deflect that one over to her. She spends so much time
Bravo,
updating
Nora.
that directory. But even when it's both of us doing it, like we like timed ourselves one year. We started in March just because we had to get a head start, and it took us 3 solid months. Of course, we were both doing day jobs at the time, but just working in the evenings, like we were hardcore in that directory, and we go through manually each and every haunt that's on there. We manually go on their Facebook and their website looking for updates. You know, we can't rely on the haunts to come to us because they forget about us. You know,
Absolutely.
they're busy
Absolutely.
building their
Exactly.
shows and shit.
Yeah.
They can't be
They're
bothered
busy as
to
shit,
send
too.
us their updates. But yeah, so I mean, we take it upon ourselves, make sure we keep it as accurate as we can. I mean, we're gonna miss stuff because somebody's gonna change their dates in the middle of September or something, and I mean, we'll catch it next year. But
How dare
it's-
you be human?
Well, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's like Tyler said though. It's a lot to keep up with. There's a lot of haunts out there. Excuse me, I'm getting over this little bit of this cold. I still got a little cough. I'm trying to keep it down and constrained, but it does pop out every once in a while. Sorry about that.
It's all right. It'll scrape off when it dries.
Yeah, true. That's true. Right in the face. Right in the face.
Always like
Yeah, exactly. We
clean
have
it
brushes.
a little bit, so it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
we have brushes.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. So Nora, same question. What brings us here today? What has kind of led to Scarefactor? And what are some of your first memories of horror?
So for me, I'm Nora, Tyler's other half, and the other co-owner of the Scarefactor.com. I'm here today because I like to talk about haunted houses, and I like talking to you awesome folks. And I also helped in dragging Brian along.
Nice.
I
Nice. Very cool.
started in horror, I would say, I think I've told you guys this before, but for those who haven't heard, I was born on October 25th, so I was close to Halloween. And for my birthday every year, my family celebrated via Halloween style. So, like, when I was 5 years old, my aunt won me a little Dracula doll out of a claw machine. And I carried him around with me everywhere like he was my baby. Like, I had him in a little bundle. And, like, I was even in Kroger one day, and this lady was like, "Oh, can I see your baby?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I, like, pull its little thing down, and she's like, "Oh, my God, what is that?" And I was just laughing, like, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So,
Very cool.
like, I was able to watch, like, it and things like that when I was pretty young. So, I just
so
always
jealous.
loved horror.
I
Like, I just
know.
thought it was a
So
normal thing.
jealous.
We both came from families where everything you were going to
So
hell for
jealous.
when we were kids, so we didn't get to watch much of anything
No.
until we got older.
No. As a matter of fact,
Right?
I think my most
That's where I was. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do?
You know, I mean, and I think one of I wasn't scared of the horror films themselves. I was scared if I heard footsteps while I was trying to
Yeah.
sneak one in late at night. That's
Exactly.
what scared me more than anything was old Papa coming around the corner and having some questions for me about what was on the old television.
I don't know. It got froze there.
Yeah. I got froze on that scene, Dad. I don't know what happened, man. That's so
That's
crazy.
the only channel that'll come in.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. 170 channels. They're all down but this one. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird. Get better. I don't know. Comcast sucks, man. I don't know what to say. But anyways. So we're talking about horror movies a little bit. I want to. We always talk about haunts and stuff like that. I want to switch gears a little bit tonight before we get into the haunts. Let's talk about horror films a little bit. Nora, what's your favorite?
Okay. My favorite is. Oh shit, that's hard. Ooh, that's hard.
It's tough. I thought
Jeepers
this was
Creepers.
a casual show. He's
got
throwing
it.
out some big
Yeah,
ones
he's
there.
just throwing right out the gate.
We're gonna get to know
I'm
each other
gonna
real
say Jeepers Creepers, the first one,
I love Jeepers Creepers.
because when it first came out, it was a very different film, and it was kind of like Saw, where people didn't know what the fuck was going on.
quick. I like it.
But the second one and the third one, not so much. But the Creeper is just that character that, like, he smells people and follows them and can use parts of their body to rebuild himself. And there's not very many other horror movie characters like that. So
Now
I'd say that's probably mine.
I've heard there's a remake possibly happening, a little bit of a relaunch on that franchise. What's your thoughts on that rumors? Number one, do you think it's going to happen? And number two, are you excited, or are you kind of hoping this doesn't turn into the Freddy Krueger disaster we saw that
Oh,
one
that
time
was
around?
bad.
Right? I think it'll probably happen because these movie companies need to make up for the COVID and things like that. So if they had enough money from the third one, they'll probably do it. But the third one was just way out there. So I don't
Yeah.
really have high hopes that it'll be very good,
I didn't hate the third one.
unfortunately.
It just didn't
Really?
make sense to everything else that had happened.
But I'm also, like, I'm not the one to ask, because I think Jason X is fucking awesome. I don't care what anybody says. I love it. I think it's great. It's not the best Jason by any stretch, but it's still a great movie.
Now, the liquid nitrogen and then banging the head off the table, sure. But the movie? Nah.
And it's the coolest looking Jason. I don't give a shit what anyone says. It was the coolest looking Jason. But
all his body parts were remade as metal.
whatever. Let's switch over. Let's talk to Tyler for a second, man. Tyler, again, we're diving hard and deep tonight. Take that however you want. But what's your favorite horror movie, man?
So I would say that my favorite character is Jason,
Okay. Much
but
respect.
We got
my
love for
favorite
Jason here.
movie is actually probably the Saw franchise.
I
That
love it.
was
He
one of the
loves
ones
Saw.
that
I'm not into it.
that was one of the first ones I really got into after I got into all the haunted houses and actually understood there was a whole Halloween awesomeness thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, the Saw one that because there's so many twists and turns and going in and out of movies and everything all works together with the whole series. I thought that was really well done. So.
No, and I love how much Tyler and I have in common with our stories. Because number one,
Right?
I am a big fan of Saw. I am going to ask you here in a second which Saw movie it was that you started to fall off a little bit, because we've all fallen off the train at some point. But you talk about kind of being a little bit a late bloomer with the haunted attractions. I was too, man. I was too. I got to go to one when I was younger, and the first one that her and I went to, we had just started dating. and I was trying super hard to put on this man front and grr and all that good stuff. I was scared out of my damn mind
It was a really good
whenever
hunt.
I walked into it. Now, I mean, granted, the second I was in there, everything changed. I loved it. But walking in and looking back on it, it wasn't a scary haunt.
Right.
It wasn't a scary haunt, but
No,
it
it was
definitely.
fun though. And it was local. That's one thing that we liked about it the most is that we were just able to often do it because, before we quit our careers to try and pursue this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
we had crazy work schedules too, so we couldn't do anything on the weekends, and that just happened to work its way in.
Have you seen Spiral yet?
Spiral?
Yeah, the latest Saw movie that has just came out.
Oh no,
No.
I have not.
We haven't either. He's
No,
not
I have
yet.
not.
I haven't either, and just talking about this, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably gonna push her pretty
We're
hard.
probably
on
gonna
tonight.
watch
We're
it
probably
tonight.
gonna
Yeah,
watch Spiral
it's like,
tonight.
why the hell ain't we watched Spiral yet?
Yeah, I know. So I think Scarefactor and Haunted Honeymooners combined is gonna end up watching some Spiral tonight. I see it happening.
Then we'll have to talk about
I
Spiral
agree.
again
Yep.
one
Can we
day.
get that shit on Amazon?
It's
I'm
not
kinda
on Amazon.
disappointed I haven't
No,
seen it yet.
no. It's not on
Yeah.
Prime. You can rent it. You can rent it from a couple different sources. I know if you got Xbox, it's definitely available on Xbox right now.
Yeah, we get everything
Um,
off Xbox.
And
Yep.
a couple different sources out there. I'm sure it's
What?
easy to find.
We have the
alright.
Xbox, but I don't know that we know how to buy a fucking movie on it.
Super simple. Super simple. But let's hear from Brian. I think he may have left. He's like been quiet and silent and invisible. Brian, where are you?
Brian will
I'm
sneak
I'm
up
sitting
behind
here,
you.
man. I'm lamenting the loss of my my rum and coke.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
bad
Oh.
day.
I'm so
I
sorry.
drank it all. I don't really feel like getting up to get more, to be quite honest with you.
Everybody needs
I
to
think
focus on
probably
for the
my
loss of Jack
favorite
and Coke.
horror movie, though, since we're talking about that, is I like the Paranormal Activity movies.
Okay.
I like those
and it's-
too.
It's a love-hate relationship, right? I hate the genre because
Yeah.
Blair Witch was awful. I don't
It
care what
was.
anybody says. Come
It
at me in the
was.
comments. I don't care. Blair Witch was garbage. But Paranormal Activity, I think, was really well done because all of the effects in that movie were all practical effects.
So I gotta
And-
ask you, since we're talking about how garbage Blair Witch was, and I agree 100%. They are talking about redoing that and making it with the graphics that it should have been there if they were going to make that kind of movie. What do you think? Do you think it'll change your mind?
I think the genre has merit, and I think that like if they do it justice, it could be an alright movie. But it was out of place when it came out, right?
Yeah.
And the production company tried to play this off as like, no, we legitimately found this footage. And like, no, you fucking
No, you
didn't,
didn't.
because I saw the lead actor on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's kind of a dead giveaway right there. Nah, that's good. That's good. But let's switch back to Paranormal Activity. What is it about that movie that makes it so much better than Blair Witch?
I think it's a believable storyline. It's like, yeah, I can believe that some teenagers went out in the woods looking for trouble, but after that, like, I stopped believing it. With
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity, it's like it's this couple, and they're keeping a video documentary of their early life in this house they bought, and like, who hasn't done that when they buy their first house, right? You keep videos because you want to remember that years later, and then when the strange things start happening, now they're looking at keeping video of that, trying to get evidence of these things that are happening.
Yeah.
And so I think the storyline just becomes a lot more believable in general. But on top of that, like I said, the effects are all practical effects. So I think it's in the second one where all the kitchen cupboards spring open
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
comes flying out. That was a practical effect. That was actually done on set. In the first one, when at the very end, when the female gets dragged out of bed, that's a practical effect. I mean, sure, they went in with post and they painted out the guy that's pulling her out of the bed, but it legitimately happened on set.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like
And
it.
I think that's kind of the way I feel about a lot of things too. So that's pretty cool that other people feel that way. I prefer the old school like monster movies because it's real people. It's real people in suits, things that could really happen, things that physically happened. Not so much CG. CG, I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we watched. I'm gonna rat her out a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the latest Conjuring movie. Not last night, but maybe the night before last.
So
And
when the kid's being possessed and contorting and whatever, if you haven't seen a spoiler alert, it's on the poster. I'm not spoiling anything, but that part of the CG and stuff kind of does get to me. I don't like it, but it gets to me a little bit. Not in a scary way. It's in a that's fucked up kind of way.
And I'll be honest, I've not been a huge fan of the Conjuring series. Personally, I've watched them all, but it's kind of one of those one and dones. I enjoyed this latest Conjuring movie. I thought it was very good. They had an awesome protagonist in it. It was a very well done movie. But we were watching it, and she is freaked out by CG. And I'm not gonna give nothing away, no spoiler alerts. All right, but I will say this much: this hand grips the top of this shower rod.
It was bad. I said,
professional haunt enthusiast over here gets scared out of her mind when she saw that hand grip that rod.
I don't do, like, showers, you know, women especially, we have long hair, so we close our eyes and we're rinsing our hair. That's always my biggest, like, fear is I'm going to open my eyes and some shit's going to be there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never done anything, I promise. I've never... I've thought about it. I've thought about it. I have thought about it. Just like grabbing the top of the shower curtain while she's in there or some shit. But yeah, no. So we watched it. She got scared of the CG. It was very cool. Brian, so while we're talking about paranormal activity a little bit, I'm going to, and honestly, even the Conjuring and stuff like that, again, before we get into haunts, and I promise for everybody watching, that's coming.
We will.
I want to know, I want to know paranormal activity. What's your thoughts on it? Number one, is ghosts, demons, heaven, hell, is this shit, number one, is it even real? And number two, if it is, what do you base that off of? You know, what's been your life experience that's kind of led you to whatever your belief is on that stuff right now?
You know, I think everybody has kind of had an experience that, like, they just can't explain it, right? There's no reasonable explanation. But with that being said, no, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
And the reason it doesn't exist is, like, whatever religion you believe in, like, there's like 117 major religions in the world, right? Like, it doesn't matter which one you believe in, like, they all have some variation of that, but none of them really agree on anything. You know, so I think it's a very cultural thing, right? Because in Japan, their idea of ghost is very different from what our idea of a ghost is in the U.S. or in the Western world.
Yeah. No,
you know, in India, it's totally different there. And in different parts of the world, it gets so muddled up that, like, no, it can't be a real thing, because if it was real, then there would be consistent accounts across the world of these things happening.
Agreed. I like that. I
like
that. That's very well said. Very well said. Nora, I'm sorry to make you follow up such a great answer. But you know, Nora, and again, there's no, I hope her view is completely different.
I like hearing different views. That's
what is your opinion on it? Ghosts, paranormal, demons, the devil, God, heaven, hell. Go. Is it real? What's been your experiences that lead you to your beliefs?
I'm the opposite of Brian.
Love it.
He knows this. We've talked about this plenty of times. We have told Brian that we're taking him ghost hunting so we can actually show him something.
And Brian, you have to go. You have to go with an open mind.
Yes.
I'm open to it. I'm open. I've been.
Yep. He wants to see something, but So we've had, like, even me and Tyler, we've had at least one really good experience with each other that, like, we were both in the same room when something happened. So at first I was like, hey, your house is haunted. He's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is. He's like, no, it's not. So, like, I kept getting woken up in the middle of the night with somebody whispering my name. And it would only be us there. And I'm like, seriously, what is going on? And it, like, felt
I'm
like
passed out of sleep for clarity. You know,
he's sleeping right.
Nora.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I wake up hearing that, and I, like, sit up, and I feel like somebody's staring at me at the end of the bed. And I'm like, what the fuck? So one night, I hear it. I sit up straight out of bed. I look over, and the dogs are, like, looking at it too. So I'm like, okay,
Dude,
I'm not the only one
that?
hearing this. Yes,
I
because
hate it
once
when
the dogs
animals
hear
notice
it,
too.
yeah. So I'm just sitting there, and we have a bedroom door that I can technically probably reach it from where I was at, but I swear I did not touch it. And it had robes hanging on the back of it, and that door just slammed shut. And the robes are sitting there swinging, and Tyler comes flying up out of bed, and he's like, what was that? And I'm like, that door just slammed by itself. And then he was like, okay. something's going on here.
We always left the door cracked because if like a dog ever got out in the living room or something, it could come in,
Yeah.
but the door would always close but not latch. It would just close up against the jamb, and so whenever it actually closed itself and latched, it took a pretty good little push to get that door to latch. It wasn't just like the air conditioner came on or something. Something made that door shut.
And hard.
With the rope swinging on the back of it, it wasn't like something just made a noise and we thought that's what it was. No, that was proof that the door had just moved. And the dogs were, none of the dogs had moved. None of them were touching it. And so we're like, not real sure. Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of other stuff like that. Like I've gone ghost hunting a lot. I'm trying to get Tyler into it because I think it's fun. And we're trying to like put some of the stuff on YouTube just to see how many haunted house fans like paranormal stuff too, because it's all creepy.
Yes.
So
It's under the umbrella.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So we're trying to have fun with it, and it's all stuff that we can do like when it's warm outside and there aren't any haunts open. So hopefully we can get Brian to go along with us. Like when it comes to heaven or hell, I'm not a church goer. I would consider myself a Christian, but I don't necessarily believe in anything, but I believe that basically like things are meant to be. Like things happen for a reason. Like that's kind of just my belief with everything.
I like it.
So like if I go to heaven when I die, then that's meant to be. If there is one, or hell, that's probably where I'm going is hell.
Oh, don't worry, I will be there with you.
So-
If heaven and hell is real, especially with my background, I'm fucked. Like there's no doubt about it. Like I'm driving the school bus down there. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal.
Okay.
We'll go together.
Yeah, so that's just kind of my take on all of it. I guess I have a really open mind and kind of believe I'm also kind of gullible. So if somebody says, I saw an alien in my backyard last night, I'm going to be like, seriously? Like, do you have pictures? Or,
I like it. Now, before we ask Tyler, now I have a feeling his answer is going to be very similar. I'm very much like Brian. I want so badly to see something. I really do. But I want it to be undeniable, like in my face. There's no doubt about it. That's something unearthly. That's something different. That's a spirit. That's a ghost. That's whatever you want to call it.
Okay, but he has to tell himself on that one too, and at least explain the one incident that you cannot explain.
All right, so there is one incident that to this date I still can't explain.
If you get the chance and you get towards, where was that? Was that one in New York?
It was somewhere in New York. I couldn't know. It was New York for sure. I couldn't tell you where
Kings
it
Park
is.
Psychiatric Center. That one
Okay.
you need to go.
Yeah, it's very cool. And side note, before I get into this a little bit, I would love to do a Scarefactor Haunted Honeymooners ghost tour.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Put the haunts to the side for a night. Let's
Just
go
go
on a
hunting.
good ghost hunt somewhere. We'll meet up somewhere.
we're going to be doing Waverly here as soon as we can get in on a time slot.
Ooh,
Hopefully
cool.
they're going
Lovely.
to open something up, or we'll catch something, or jump in with somebody else. So
Very cool.
maybe you guys can join us for that.
And we're real good friends with the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and kind of
Oh,
have an
that'd
open
be sweet.
invitation whenever we want to kind of go up there and peruse
Ooh.
around for a little while.
And we still
Okay.
have to circle back from 2018 and eventually get over to Lake Shawnee too.
Yeah. All types of opportunities for that to happen. So that's something we'll talk about off air a little bit more. But one experience. This is the only experience, and Brian, I'd love your opinion on this. Maybe you can answer this question for me. We go to the psychiatric center, the old abandoned psychiatric ward, and it's got the same horror stories than any other psychiatric wards ever had.
But honestly, it really didn't.
And I did a little bit. It had to, towards the end, things started to go awry.
Towards the end.
So we go there, and there was a couple weird things, but it was all explainable things. We heard music, but your mind plays tricks on you. There could have been a homeless dude up there playing music. Who knows?
No.
Could've been-
What kind of music did we hear? Stop it.
We heard music.
What kind of music did you hear? You even knew it. You knew it.
It was music.
It sounded like old, record player music.
It
that
did.
You're not gonna
It
have
did.
anywhere else.
It did. I'll give you that.
Well,
I'll
Nora
give you that.
hates that music going
It's
through the
creepy as
hospital.
shit.
Her hair stands up
is.
on the back of her neck. Yep.
And that fucking tiptoe through the tulips. That song.
There
It's
was
too much.
there was a general uneasiness when we were in the building. I'll give it that, but I don't know how much of that was just kind of nerves. How much of it was because, truth be told, we were probably kind of trespassing at the time, which
We
is
were
a no-no,
definitely
and I don't
trespassing.
endorse that. Don't do that. We haven't done that since.
But they knew we were there.
They did know we were there, but we weren't like it was kind of.
We weren't.
Nobody said
exactly
anything.
given permission.
Exactly. Anyways, moving on before we confess to any other criminal activity this evening. But you know, so and Trish looked at me at one point and said, "Hey, it's time to go."
Yeah.
And we had just went into a
sensitive to
classroom,
stuff, so.
and I said, "All right, no problem. Let's go. Let's get out of here." I would have explored all day. I wanted to go upstairs and everything else, but she said it was time to go. It's time to go.
So if anybody's sensitive to shit, like I got a pressure, and the pressure just kept going. The further we went down this one hallway, so it was time to go.
So we leave. We exit out the window that we came in, and we're walking off, and we can kind of feel this wind blowing us back. It almost felt like it was pushing us away from the building. I didn't think anything of that. It's wind, man.
It was to the point where we didn't turn around. We walked backwards out of it.
We did. We did walk backwards out of the building. I'll give her that. This is the part that I can't explain. This is the part that I can't figure out. And maybe Brian has the answer to this one because I'm with you, Brian, man. I don't.
He's wanting you to have the answer.
I don't believe in this stuff. I just don't. Unless it's undeniable. It's got to be just solid proof. But this is as close as I've came to it. So we both, before we went on this trip, had just bought brand new cell phones. Both of them. Brand spanking new cell phones. Bought specifically for what we were trying to do with Haunted Honeymooners. This was very early on into the goings with it. And both cameras were pretty fully charged. She had hers on in the building, and battery just sucked right out of it. It went from 50% to almost nothing within, I'd say, 10 minutes of just some recording. And I thought, you know, whatever. New phone, glitched out, whatever. We'll use mine. It's no big deal. Let's get out of here, and we'll record some of the stuff outside. And we'll get up out of here.
I tried to lift his phone up, and it was 38% left on it to take a picture of that building before we left once the wind stopped. Because, honest to God, when we walked backwards, the moment we got out of the shadow of that building, the wind stopped.
And
So
my
I tried to take one more picture of the main building. Gone.
And then my phone died immediately. Just immediately upon like
yeah.
And
so
I don't know what else to say. And Brian, I'm on your team, man, but I don't know what else to say other than the building didn't want us to take its picture. For whatever reason, we had recorded inside of it. We still have the video on Facebook.
And every photo I have of that building looks like there's like lines through it.
A lot of photos of that building, a lot of photos of the interior. Did a whole live inside of it, all types of recordings. But for whatever reason, it felt like almost like our time was done.
Yeah.
And it let us play enough, and it was time for us to leave. Brian, I'm a skeptic, man. I don't believe in this shit. But I want your opinion specifically. What do you think that was? What's your thoughts on that type of experience there?
So I think, you know, just the overall uneasy feeling and creepiness and whatever, like it's an old building, right?
Yeah.
Take anybody, stick them in an old abandoned building, and they're just going to feel kind of creeped out, right? It's just kind of human nature, and especially in the Western civilization and within our own culture, like we just, you know, we associate that sort of thing with like, oh, this must be haunted. People must have died here. Like, could be not a soul died there, and you would swear like, oh no, it's built on an Indian burial ground or something. Like, you know, it's like we take so much from the media there. So like, I think that's a lot of like just the uneasy feeling that you probably had. You know, the other things going on there is, you know, with your phone sucking up the battery. Now, if you had other cameras, I don't know the reason that, you know, the batteries would have died the way they did. And it's definitely something I should really research because you hear about that so often.
Yes, it does seem to be a common. And I thought everybody was bullshitting about it until it fucking happened.
Both
Yeah, but so like the phone, so it's an old building, right? And so old buildings generally have really good electromagnetic shielding, right? Whether intentionally or not, old buildings tend to have a lot of metal bits in them. You know, our modern buildings tend to be built with the idea of somebody's going to have a cell phone and they want to be able to use the cell phone inside. Whereas older buildings, it wasn't a thing. So there's a lot of shielding going on. And if your phone is trying to pick up a signal while it's inside and it can't do that, it's going to use up a shit ton of battery doing it. I used to work in a warehouse. And the days, yeah, and the days that like I would forget to put my phone into airplane mode, like forget it. You know, my phone's done by lunch. So and it's because of all that metal that's inside the building. So, it can't get out to get a signal, so it just tries harder and harder until it shits itself.
I can't. I like it. I can't argue with that. I like it.
That's
You just
interesting.
debunked his only story that I could get him on. Damn it!
I mean, as
We're
far
gonna
as
have to prove him
hearing,
wrong.
sounds, like it could be you heard something else, or it could just be you heard something, but kind of like the Mandela effect, but with sound, right? So like the Mandela effect is, that we look at something and we see a face in it. And it comes from the idea that like Nelson Mandela and Morgan Freeman look very similar. So, like I think that's where the name comes from anyway.
You had me convinced of it just by like the confidence.
I'm pretty sure, right?
If you
like,
never said anything else, I'd have been telling other people. Did you know what the Mandela effect came from? Did you know?
Just found this out. Like,
I don't know. Look it up. Google it. But so like it's kind of like a Mandela effect with sound, right? So like you hear wind that's blowing through a broken window or something, and it's creating a whistling or some sort of noise that's far enough away that you're like, what's that sound? You can hear something, but you're not really sure entirely what it is. You don't have any real definition to it. So your brain is trying to search through things that it knows, and it's saying like, oh, it kind of sounds like this, or it kind of sounds like that, and then it's kind of piecing things together, right?
Yeah.
Because your brain does weird shit like that. I wear glasses all the time, so like after wearing a certain pair of glasses, like my brain takes the frame of the glasses out of my field of vision. The same way that your brain takes your nose out of your field of vision, even though you technically can see your nose all of the time.
Now I'm looking.
same thing.
Damn it, Ryan.
See, and that one doesn't have to be true. I just got everybody to go cross-eyed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everybody watching right now just looked at their nose for sure. There's no doubt about it. I thought.
No, but like it's totally true. It's totally true. You can always see your nose. It's just your brain filters it out, right? So like your brain does weird stuff sometimes. And so another possibility there is that it's an older building. There could be residual carbon monoxide inside of it. There is a famous Reddit thread about a user who thought that somebody was breaking into his apartment because he kept finding all these notes addressed to him, and he couldn't figure it out until somebody said, check your carbon monoxide detector. And this guy had a small carbon monoxide leak. He was experiencing very mild carbon monoxide poisoning, and he was having auditory and visual hallucinations.
Oh, wow.
So, like it's totally a possibility there. Don't rule it out because like you don't know for sure. Is it likely? No, probably not. Because you'd have to be exposed to it for a fairly long time, but definitely a possibility.
Now, we did find out too afterwards, doing a little bit more research, which we should have done before we jacked ourselves into the building. It's got some pretty bad asbestos in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that could possibly have the same effect, just a small amount of exposure to the asbestos. But I don't know. I mean, I like Brian. I like Brian a lot.
I wouldn't think that like that would have that sort of effect, but you should probably get to the doctor and get checked for mesothelioma now.
You get a lot of money for that shit.
I don't think we were quite in there long enough for mesothelioma to set in.
No, I think I'd have fajita lung before anything.
Yeah, no, I think we're okay there.
Fajita lung.
But anyways.
We worked at restaurants for years, and I always said with the sizzling fajitas, I said eventually there's going to be an ad on TV about if you worked in such and such and was
you worked
close
at
to
Chili's or Applebee's or
you're going
whatever
to
it
have
might be.
fajita lung, and you have a case.
Fajita lung, Jesus Christ. All right. I think it's time to talk about haunted attractions a little bit. We
No, you didn't ask Tyler.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, Tyler. What's your view
What
on
the
it, man?
fuck?
I know he's
You're
gonna
gonna
kinda
skip
side
that
with
over
Nora,
me. I had
but
the best one out of all of them. Nope. Go on.
I ain't got time for
I'll
petty.
snap
I ain't got
it
time
for
for petty games tonight, Tyler. Let's hear it, man.
All right, so I'm a cross between Brian and Nora. I
Okay.
started off
Middle
huge skeptic. And then along with the haunted houses, Nora really likes going to cemeteries and that kind of thing, creepy old houses. And she's like, come on, let's go ghost hunting. Let's go ghost hunting. And I'm like falling asleep in the car. Not like the worst feeling I ever got in a car. Like I did get a little bit of rot gut, kind of got a little bit of that energy draining feeling. But like other people in the car, they'd be like, you hear that? And I'm like, no. Like you have to want to hear it. I'm like, no, if it's there, I will hear it. That kind of.
Yes, absolutely.
But
you have to be open.
they're
to
like,
it
if
or
you look
can't
really
hear
off in the
it.
distance, or if you just look out of the corner of your eye, then you'll see it. I'm like, no, I want to be able to look at it right there. That's the thing.
Yep.
So I never could get anything. Never could get anything. We stopped going for a long time, and then we had Monster Bash back in 2019. And we were able to get into Waverly Hills afterwards. They opened their doors to us for after the party and did several little group walkthroughs, which was awesome. And, of course, we had to partake. And we were one of the last groups to go through, I think second to last group. But anyway, we got up on the, I want to say the fourth, might have been third floor, is one of the upper floors.
It was the fourth, I think.
Fourth floor.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I remember we was wanting everybody to shut their lights off so we could see shadow people, and nobody would stop taking pictures with their flash phones. So we got towards the back of the group, and I had turned away from everybody because I didn't want to see any flashes. And I'm like taking a picture with my phone because it's got the night sight, and I'm trying to hold it really, really still and let it take this photo. And as soon as I hit the button to where I couldn't move, something whispered in my ear in a very low and raspy voice, "I apologize for the sound of my illness." And I'm like holding really still because trying to hold the phone, and I'm like, okay. And I just looked off to the side, and I'm like, didn't see anybody there because it's really dark. I knew Nora was over there somewhere, so I'm like, well, I'll just ask Nora about it here as soon as this picture's done. And I took, got the picture done. I asked Nora, I said, who was just standing right next to me? And she's like, what? I'm like, somebody was standing right next to me. Where'd they go? And she's like, nobody was standing next to you. I'm like, bullshit. Somebody was standing there. It was plain as day.
And I was like, why?
I could hear it just as clear as I'm talking to you guys right now. I apologize for the sound of my illness. And it makes perfect sense with being in Waverly because they were all tuberculosis and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I was just like, huh. I'll be darned. That's the most proof that I've got. I unfortunately can't share it with anyone, but that's the most common. I mean, I've caught little glimpses of what I thought was a person like walking in, disappearing behind a door or walking into a room or something. I've gotten that a couple of times. We've had some pretty cool stuff. We've got an SLS camera, and we've got some pretty cool stuff with it in a couple of different places. We've done some really cool S-Box stuff where it flips through the AM or the FM radio stations, and Nora listens on the headphones, and you normally listen to those and blindfold somebody, and they yell whatever words they hear, and other people in the room that can't hear that are asking questions, and you try to figure out if it makes sense if somebody's answering you, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I find it really easy to debunk that stuff with just like, it's a radio station. So you caught a little glimpse of somebody saying something on their talk show, but
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah.
No. The only paranormal hunting device I've ever seen that I genuinely laughed at, and I said, you have to be fucking kidding me, was a box that they would hold up. They would hold this box up, and it wouldn't just pick up on, just like the EPS signals or the little sounds, the white noise stuff. It would decipher the words the ghosts were trying.
Box is what he's talking
I
about.
guess. But
yeah,
I was
He's
watching.
talking about a spirit box.
We were watching one show, and there's no doubt in my mind.
He walks away from me when I watch shit sometimes.
I couldn't. I couldn't. They hold this box up and murder. Shut up! No, it didn't. Stop it.
Right?
Nobody said that. It didn't happen. I'm not buying it.
And
How much video did they have to edit to find that one word? And
Yeah, no.
Well, and most of the times when it's picking stuff like that up, it's someone that don't speak English.
There's
So-
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know but that's the one that was the one device I think.
Now, the Haunted Majestic, you let something stand beside me and didn't bother to tell me.
I still to this day.
Waited
Don't
until
think
after we were
anything.
done filming inside of what used to be a morgue to tell me there's something standing beside of you. Oh, thanks.
It was nothing.
I'm filming, and they all moved to the other end of the thing, so I scooped
We did.
up
Me and
farther in the back
the owner
so I
just
could
went
get them.
crazy
and
as
it's
it
right
sounds.
beside me.
We went deeper into the morgue to get away from whatever it was that was standing beside Trish. We didn't
But nobody
care
said a
about her.
word.
Just whatever.
They just get your phone out and be like, "Don't move, honey." There's something
I
right
was busy
there.
trying to do his show, baby. I don't know.
I was
yeah?
recording their interview, and I was in the far corners, and they just started moving towards the door. And I didn't think nothing of it, so I moved further back in the corner so I could get a better angle. Nobody said a word.
Yeah.
Assholes.
It happens. It happens. All right. So we would not be able to forgive ourselves. As much fun as this has been, and I'm going to be honest, this has been one of the most fun episodes of Talking Scared I've had in quite some time. No offense to any former guests. I'm having a blast tonight.
We had fun talking to them last time. You knew today would be great.
We did. But we would not forgive ourselves if we didn't spend at least a little bit of time tonight talking about haunted attractions and all of that good stuff. So we're not going to talk about the history of Scarefactor. Everybody knows about Scarefactor. Everybody knows about the directory. I want to hear...
If you don't, go Google it.
Yeah, exactly. Just go check it out. We use it. We use it religiously. It's one of our biggest tools that we use when we're not necessarily picking out our season, but if we're say we go to Cincinnati and we have one particular haunt that wants us to be there, that's asked for us to be there, you know, that's going to take up an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time, and that's over. You usually have time to go to another one, even if they haven't requested your presence or anything like that. And that's where we head to just about every time is that directory. So definitely check it out. Scarefactor.com is where you can find that directory, the best haunt directory out there. By far, we use it all the time.
I just want to chime in real quick and make sure it's the Scarefactor, because if you go to Scarefactor, that takes you. We don't have that one yet. We're trying to get it. We don't have it yet.
We're battling
That's
for
us for the Haunted Honeymooners too.
We're trying to get hauntedhoneymooners.com, but right now it's the hauntedhoneymooners.com. We're working on that little bit of a legal battle behind the scenes, trying to secure that one.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. Okay. Maybe one day, but we're a little ways away from it. Fucking movie. Fucking movie for God knows when, you know?
Well, it wasn't even that. It's Haunted Honeymoon.
Yeah.
But they won't let you have it because the movie is similar to the word.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
All this behind the scenes crap that nobody's too awfully interested in, I'm sure. But let's talk about not just haunted attractions, but more specifically, what type of haunted attraction does Tyler look for? Does Nora look for? Does Brian look for? We all have our personal favorites.
Yeah.
And we all try very hard to keep our personal feelings aside when we're going through these tours and we're going through these haunts. But I want to know...
But if you didn't have to...
Yeah, but if you didn't have to, I want to know what your personal favorites are. Not a haunt specific, but is it the lights out tours? Is it the old asylums? Is it the old schoolhouses? Is it the zombie area? Are you a fan of clowns? What is your type of haunted attraction? Putting Scarefactor aside, putting the ratings aside, just your personal beliefs. We're going to start ladies first this time. Nora, what is some of your most favorite styles of haunted attraction? And don't feel like you have to mention any names, but maybe at least an example of what's been one of your favorites. And feel free to mention the name if you want to, but you don't have to.
Okay. I would say my top favorite is generally the old school haunts. I like the creativity that goes behind them. They don't have that larger budget that some of the others do, so they're forced to kind of think outside the box more than a lot of the other attractions. They're also actor driven, so you get a lot of interaction in this type of show. I like those, but if they can add that mindfuck aspect to it too.
Very cool.
So like making you think that you're in something that you're not, or making you think that the floor just dropped and it didn't. Like adding just different things like that just really plays with your head. Those are my favorite types of shows. So like mindfuck and old school together, that would be my favorite place. I have visited one that we have seen do this. And you know how haunts are. Sometimes you go through one night and they're really good, and sometimes you go back and it's not the same. But we've seen Mayhem Mansion in Morningview, Kentucky, do this. They're old school. They raise money for the local Shop with Cops, and they don't have any animatronics. They use a real house. The house is pretty dilapidated, to be honest. You know, it's boarded up. It used to be the only way you could enter the house was through the second story window. So right there, I was like, okay, this is fucking cool. Like, that's what I like.
That's pretty
sick. Like, something that's different. And when you go in, right before you go into that second story window, one of the managers talks to you about how we are a touch haunted house. You have to hold on to your group members or you will lose them. and he will have your heart going before you even walk in this place. And we go to so many, and I'm just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, right before I walk in the door, because he is so good at pumping you up. But then they're good at like keeping that throughout majority parts of their show. It's kind of like a roller coaster. So like they'll trap you somewhere, or they'll do something here, or just have something really fucking creepy here, and then all of a sudden you run into a clear wall because you can't see it. So that's kind of what I like.
Very cool. Very
if
cool.
you ever get in our area and is looking for something in that fashion too, 12 Pole Manor is it, man.
Oh, by the way,
Well,
if you all are ever in the West Virginia area and you don't hit us up to do a little combined haunt tour,
Right?
shame on you. Shame on you. We don't have the whole East Coast on lock or anything like that. We've never claimed to. But
No.
West Virginia, by God, is our grounds. We have this motherfucker on lock, all right? You tell us where you want to go, and we got you. Whatever you want. All right, so I'm gonna transfer over to Tyler for a second. Let's hear about your favorite style of haunt. And again, feel free to mention names if you want to, but by no means do you have to. What are you looking for just personally? What's your style haunt?
I am an absolute sucker for the immersive and like storytelling, and like they make that front and foremost in the show. So some good examples are, one of my all-time favorites, which they're not open anymore now, was Zombie City down at Asylum Haunted Scream Park in Louisville.
Very cool.
And they did a wonderful job. Like they started you off, you were in a like a news broadcasting type of center, and like there was an old TV in the corner, and it was playing news clips of how the city had fallen under, apocalyptic state basically. And then you proceed, and there's someone saying, all right guys, time to go this way, we want to make sure you don't get around any of the zombies or anything like that. And then the zombie comes out and gets them, and so then you're going down through some other part of the way, and you run into other people that are, you're trying to decide if they're helping you get through or if they're out to kind of get you and make you part of their little clan, or if they want to rob you and get any guns or weapons you have,
Cool.
And that was part of the deal. They would each do their little skit and run down, and they'd pass you through to the next part, and they advertised it as like you were living a horror movie, and that's one of the best ones that I've seen actually do it in a haunted house. Next to that, I would say probably Hell's Gate, just because they're so theatrical and they've got 360, everything's just going on around you. Totally impressed with how you actually go through the woods to find the haunted house and all that.
Cool as shit.
That's
that.
I just
That's
eat it
very
up.
cool.
Eat it up.
Very cool. I'm actually going to switch gears real hard before we hear Brian's opinion. And I'm going to ask Trish.
Oh, shit.
What is your style of haunted attraction? What is the ones that you like to see personally? And maybe what's been one of your favorites?
So anybody that watches anything to do with what we like would have to definitely be a touch haunt, some sort of a touch aspect. I always think that anything can heighten your senses if you add just a little extra of a touch. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be immersive wise, doesn't have to be, but a little bit of touch can change the entire environment of what you're going through. If something random grabs out and touches your foot, oh shit, it's on. So I really enjoy stuff like that, but I'm an old school haunt person. I like the creatures, I like the storylines, it actually being crazy old grandpa from down the road and, his murder station. Like, I like things like that. And honestly, my favorite one that I've been to out of all of them that does that so well is Lake Chippewa.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it.
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, nope, I'm with you. All right, Brian, man, you've had quite a time to think about this now. So it's your turn, man. What is your personal favorite type of haunted house?
I don't think it's any particular type, but I'm very much with Tyler in that, like, my favorite sort of haunt is one that tells a story and is very immersive in that theme.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter what the theme is or how you tell it, but like what I don't like in haunts, and it's unfortunately for me it's such a common thing, is like you go in and it's like, here's the church scene, and then there's the laboratory, and then there's the dungeon, and there's like, it's this mishmash of scenes. It's like, all right, it's cool, and I can appreciate all the work that went into it, but
it doesn't
like, you're not telling me a story.
Yeah,
you're not telling me any sort of coherent story. Like, So I'm in a freak house that's just like it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Like, all right, guys up the street are doing that too.
Yeah.
Um, a place that I've gone that's actually just really hit the nail on the head for me is KO Industrial here in central New York. They're in Rome, and it's not even their main haunt in October. It's their escape room called Atrophy Escape Ward.
Ooh.
And it's an hour-long escape, and it's multiple rooms, multiple puzzles, and it's very haunt-driven, right? They have their haunt actors in there, and it's very creepy and spooky, and like there's going to be a couple of jump scares, so they're doing what a lot of escape rooms don't do, and they're taking these elements of a haunt and they're meshing it into their escape room. And like one of the first puzzles is you get locked into a jail cell. Good luck, get out.
That's awesome. I like it. Very cool.
I want to go because there was a haunted attraction that was doing an escape room that we went through last year before.
I
think it was
year before.
But we done
if
an
you're talking about the one
escape
thing you're
room,
talking about.
and it was done in a horror aspect, but there was no actors. And we had said, like, the moment we were done with it, if there would have been just a couple of actors in there too, it would have really messed with you, and we would love to see that. We get to New York every now and then. We might try to get up there and do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're going. We've got it. Tyler and I
Yeah.
have decided we are. After I read the review, I was like, I'm going.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so I will share mine as the last one here, but before I do it, I want to hit it with a little bit of a small disclaimer here. Immersive haunts, extreme haunts are awesome. Do your research. Know what you're signing
you said
up
haunt.
for.
You didn't say immersive.
Everybody's been talking about immersive. I'm sorry if you missed the train.
I talked about a traditional haunt.
I know, but this is a personal feelings here. As to what has been my favorite experience, and I didn't even realize it would be my favorite experience.
I signed him up for it.
And I was scared out of my mind the day before. I was mortified. I borderline didn't want to do it. I was like shaking at the
He was
thought of
freaking
it.
out at that point.
But it has by far became one of my favorite haunt experiences. I loved it. I've became very good friends with the owner since, and
It's just
he
so
and I talk.
empowering to do those things.
He and I talk often. I love him to death. But we went to Nebraska to go do an extreme haunt. And again, extreme haunts are great, but please, dear
Know your
God, know what you're
limitations, know what
signing
you're
up
signing
for
up
before
for.
you get into it. Don't just jump into this shit. This stuff is it's a little more hardcore than what you might be expecting. And I found
Learn
out
how to control
that
your own
that's-
personal reactions.
That's my type of haunt. I like. It's not just in your face. It's not just touching.
You're in it.
It's genuinely fighting through your own rated R horror movie. It's trying to get to the end of it. I walked out of there. I was bruised. I'd taken some shots and some licks and and some pretty hard impacts at times that I wasn't
In a
expecting.
completely safe way.
In a completely safe way. It was controlled at all times. There was never a moment that I felt that I was in any real danger. But to say that it didn't push me to my absolute limit would be a lie, because it did. There was a moment inside of there that I came close. I've never tapped out in a haunt. I have no intentions of doing it, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a moment where I thought about it for a second, because I didn't know if I was going to make it to the next scene or not. And the story is what drove me to the next scene.
Yeah.
Because when I started to
see
have,
the story.
I wanted to start to have those doubts, and I don't know if I can do this. The story was so drawn in, and you're such an intricate part of it, and so wrapped up in it. I mean, you are the story. That's my type of haunt. And I'll give them the big shout out. My Asthma is absolutely amazing. They usually do everything out of Chicago, but this particular time he was in Nebraska. He went home. It was
Homecoming.
It was Homecoming was the haunt we went to. I love Justin to death. He makes some of the best horror stuff out there. And he's got a big project in the works right now. I can't wait to see it launched and see it happen. I didn't realize that was my favorite type of haunt. Now, I love traditional haunts. I love walkthroughs. Lake Chippewa was amazing. Dent Schoolhouse is always phenomenal. And so many others that I could list on and on and on that do such a great job. I love them to death, but regretfully, immersive in that extreme haunt has kind of ruined them a little bit for me, because that's
It
what I
heightens your
crave.
senses.
You know, I want that experience. I want to be. This is gonna sound bad, but I want to be the center of attention. I want to be the story, and I also want to feel like it's a genuine fight to get out. It's a fight to survive the experience. And at the end of it, you know, it's like Trish said, it's rewarding.
It was the most, and to this day is the most empowering experience I've ever had, to be able to finish it, complete it, get through it, and be able to sit for hours afterwards. I can still tell you when something happens to you, and years later you can still tell exact details if you wanted to.
Oh, I could walk you
That's
through
when
room
it's
by room
amazing,
and tell
you
you.
know?
I never would, because Justin
No.
would send his assassins to kill me.
He would.
But I could to this date sit down and walk you through room by room,
Everything
step
that
by step,
happened.
everything that happened inside of that building. And at the end of it, yeah, I can remember him looking at me and being like, "Hey, you did it! You're done!" And they're rooting for you the whole
Yeah.
time. They don't want you to tap.
They're like, "You're a fucking badass. You're
Yeah,
done." And
they
I'm
were
like,
like,
"Nah,
"You
I
did it."
don't believe you."
We
Like,
didn't. Neither one of us did. Neither one of us did, because I could see one of the actors in the background that just had our shirt, just had our reward shirt for completing it, and I was just like, "Nah, she's right there. No, I don't believe this at all."
You don't know you're out till we were out. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
still
no,
putting my shoes on, looking over my shoulder, like.
no, it was very cool. It was very, very cool. Now, regretfully, we have like already went way over our time
Did we
tonight.
really?
We did. Oh yeah,
Because
we're-
we've had fun today.
it has been great.
It's only
I am-
been like a half hour, hadn't it?
I wish. But I'm not going to cut things short. I want you guys to have the opportunity now. I'm going to turn the floor over completely to Tyler and Nora and Brian, and let you guys talk a little bit more about what Scarefactor is exactly, where people can find you, what is a Team Zombilly, what is a team, you'll have to help me out with the pronunciation, Skelegor? Did I get that right?
Skelegor, so like Skeletor, but Skelegor.
I like
and
it.
Gore.
I like it. So I think we'll start with Brian this time around, because Brian's been like the last one every time on this, I feel like, so I'm sorry, Brian. We're going to let you be first, man. Talk about, number one, what Scarefactor is to you, what Team Skelegor is, and kind of, you know, what Scarefactor's all about a little bit.
Well, Team Skelegor is the review team that I am the brave leader of. I drag my friends with me sometimes to go see haunts, but they're usually not the best when it comes to writing the reviews. The Scarefactor is I found it to be a really great creative outlet. Because having left a haunt, like, I didn't have that creative outlet, and I didn't really have a good place to do those kind of haunt related things anymore. And so, joining the Scarefactor, like, it gives me that outlet to be able to talk about haunts on end for as long as I want in my review, and know that, like, people are going to read it and they're going to enjoy it because that's what they want to read about.
Yep.
Very cool. I like it. Very cool. All right, Nora, we're going to transfer over to you. What is Scarefactor to you? And I actually have a question from the audience that I'm going to let you address as well. The question is, how many different categories / subcategories do you currently have for scoring haunts? And what about awards that haunts might be able to win from Scarefactor?
Okay, gotcha. So I'm Nora, Team Zombie. Well, I said that earlier. Duh. Team Zombillies. So Zombie Hillbillies is how we got our name. We're in Southern Indiana, so we just Zombie Hillbillies over here. That's why we've got pictures of us in like bib overalls dressed as zombies, because that is our Zombilly characters. We don't work in a haunt, so we don't wear them anywhere. But sometimes we'll just like go to a restaurant and order food like that, and people are like, "Oh my god, what is wrong with these people?" So we need to do that because we haven't done that in a long time. So the Scarefactor for me, it's my baby. I take a lot of passion and have a lot of pride and blood and sweat and tears into the website. Going to haunted houses is probably my number one favorite thing to do. And it's kind of like Brian. It gives you creative freedom to share your experiences with other visitors, because the ultimate thing we want people to do is have fun going to haunted houses.
Yep.
And we want them to find the right haunted houses for them, because some people don't like this and some people do like this. So we want to make sure we give them enough information to, make sure they're having a good time where they're going. The audience question, we'll do awards first. Some of the awards we do is like scariest actor and actress. We do kind of change our awards from year to year, so we're not giving out the same ones. In the past, we've actually taken like audience award ideas, but then we had some haunts that were like, you guys are giving some really weird awards. So we've tried to like tame that one down a little bit. We also have 20 plus review teams, and we try to give them creative freedom to make some awards as well. But to a certain extent, we have to kind of draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
So we try to just kind of stick with ones that we feel, if by giving them to a haunt, that maybe all haunts could do this or add this, and maybe it would help everybody as a whole. So like scariest actress and actor is a good one, because you want everybody to be as scary as they can in most situations, or it's good for everybody to have one. So we think that's a good award to give. And like, we quit doing movie characters because there was a lot of legality around here about using Freddy and Michael and Jason.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing awards for those. And what was the other audience question?
How many different categories / subcategories do you currently have?
So we have 8 total. One of those is the overall scare factor, so that's like the average of all the others. And then we have 7 categories. They are cast, costuming, customer service, atmosphere, special effects, fright effect, theme, and value. So there's 8. There's 9 total.
There's 8 plus a summary. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, I got an extra finger here.
Where'd that one come from?
Under those, we don't really have subcategories, but we have, I guess, sub questions. So like,
we call them questions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically to take the review and split it up and to pull out as much biasness as possible. So like, if Brian likes special effects, which he does, and Tyler likes the story, so theme, we don't want Tyler and Brian's haunts getting scored really high in theme and special effects, because that's what they like.
Yeah.
So like, the categories themselves will, break down into up to, I think, 5 questions. And then those 5 questions are actually weighted differently to create the overall score for that category. Okay. And then all 8 of those categories are also weighted differently as well. So like, cast is weighted a little bit higher than costuming.
Okay.
And fright effect,
I like it.
We call it Scarefactor now. Yes. We keep going back and forth between fright effect and Scarefactor. So I'm like, we're calling it Scarefactor now, because it was the first 10 years that we reviewed for Tom, it was fright effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're calling it Scarefactor because that's our name. So we're like, why not? Makes sense.
That does make sense.
It works.
I like it.
Right. So
there's
that's
33 questions,
33
to
questions?
answer the question. Yeah, there's 33 little sub questions under each, or cumulatively under each of the categories. I was looking it up. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole algorithm to this shit.
That's intense.
Well, and like I said, it's to try to keep us, like, we'll go through a haunt and we'll both look at each other in the car and be like, that was fucking awesome. And then the score sheet is made to where I would personally say this thing is a 9.5. Tyler might go, it's a 9. But once we fill out that score sheet, we're like, oh, it came out to an 8. Okay, that's good. But personally, I might have given it a little bit higher. So we try our best, as a nationwide site, to keep everybody kind of using that criteria, and it's mainly just to keep us as honest as possible.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. I like it. All right, Tyler, man. I'm letting you kind of wrap this thing up a little bit. Talk about what Scarefactor is to you. Talk about the excitement for what is 2021, the haunt season that is coming. I know everybody is itching to get past 2020 100% for us haunt enthusiasts. It doesn't happen until haunt season hits this year, I think. For us to finally cast off those shadows of coronavirus and all that nonsense that happened this year.
We did amazingly enough get to randomly run into a bunch of everybody, and you guys were some of the ones that we actually got to run into when we was playing. Was like, hi, we're over here. Hi.
Yeah, I saw you guys down at Malice. I know. For sure.
Yeah. So Tyler, man, I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. Kind of closing this shindig out tonight. What's Scarefactor to you? What's the future of Scarefactor? Where can people find Scarefactor? And honestly, man, whatever else you want to fucking add to it.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, I'm going to kind of echo a little bit of a mixture of what Brian and Nora both said. It's a little bit of a creative outlet for me. I'm a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. I've done a lot of the coding and all the behind-the-scenes stuff to make it scalable for all the teams, making it to where they're all able to, send in their reviews in a simple way, and a way for us to easily digest those as they come in, because there's not a single review that gets posted without Nora or I or one of the managers proofreading it and giving it the okay. And then so that's a little bit of a creative outlet for me. I'm self-taught on all that coding stuff. And then I also enjoy, honestly, just it's a means for us to have a good time going to haunted houses. That's the way it all started. Before we joined the Scarefactor, we were going to, like, say, 20 plus haunts, and we're like, there's got to be a way to, kind of give back a little bit, but also give a little bit of purpose to going to all of them. So we get to have fun doing it, and the Scarefactor is a great way to reciprocate that feeling that we get. I think we get a lot of really good feedback from the haunts that we go to. They all sometimes develop their entire builds off of what we say. That's extremely rewarding for us. Sometimes they'll train their actors based on what we say. I'm sure you guys get a lot of the same thing.
It's crazy. It's very humbling.
And when it happens,
it's very
you're just
humbling
like,
when it happens.
wow.
It's very cool.
Like...
There have absolutely been those moments where somebody's been, or even if you'll go back to a haunt that you went to the previous year. I'm not going to mention them by name, but there was one haunt that we were a little harsh on them. And it was a bad experience, but when we went back the next year, the manager sought us out, and he was like, hey, so we did this based off some of the things that you said.
And it was a much better experience.
And it was a much better experience. It was very humbling too, to because to have somebody say that,
it's
that's
not
very
that you
cool.
want to say anything that's negative about something. You want it so bad to strive to be what you know it can be.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what all of us reviewers are doing. Our goal is to help promote the industry, and we do that by writing our reviews. And we know that our target audience is haunt goers, because those are the ones that watch our shows and read our reviews and all that stuff. But we're not naive. We know the haunters see it, and so we kind of frame things up in a way that's like, hey, this was an area that kind of needs some attention, know?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't say it in a bad way. We don't want to dissuade anybody from going, but it's like, haunts that we think are, maybe not so great. It might be something perfect for somebody's 8, 9, 10-year-old daughter to go through. It is a good starter haunt, So it's like, absolutely, if this is what they got. If that's what you're looking for, go. So absolutely, that being able to give back like that. We're always looking for new ways to do it. We are in the works of creating some type of, without giving too much away, some kind of dashboard for our reviews, some way to get a quicker glimpse, because a lot of our reviews are pretty windy. So we know that. So we're trying to figure out a way to make that more digestible and easier to figure out what we're saying quicker. And
small talk summary.
A lot of folks are probably on the road, and they might be going through the directory and not really know which one of the haunts they want to go to, or they just left Dent Schoolhouse. Where else are they going to go? Let's pull it up. They probably don't want to spend 45 minutes reading 5 different reviews, So we're going to try to figure out a way to make that a little more digestible,
so,
like I say.
question.
And
have you guys ever thought about having your written reviews be like an audio version? Because I know when we're traveling and stuff, we listen to a lot of audio things, and I think that'd be a kind of cool thing for somebody to do. It's so instead of hearing
it's
a
actually
podcast,
really awesome that you mentioned that. Absolutely, because we just started a podcast, and in those topics of discussion where we're thinking about what are we going to talk about, and what are we going to do during haunt season, it's like we should really figure out a way to get our reviews in some kind of audio format. Probably not reading our reviews, word for word, but at least giving something like, maybe 1 to 3 to 5 minutes after we leave the haunt. Hey, this is what we just experienced. It's awesome. This is what it is. This is who we are. This is where they're at.
I'd download
Go
that
check
app.
them out,
No, absolutely.
Because that's what we do when we travel. We like to listen to podcasts. We don't really listen to much music when we're traveling, going somewhere, because
Which is crazy considering what we do.
Yeah. But
Right.
we're focusing a little bit, and we're learning a little bit too, because we listen to a lot of like Time Suck, things like that. But
Gotcha.
we would like to be able to hear a review or hear parts of what you have to offer for a review as we're headed out to it, because that would be a good pump up, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I like it.
Right.
Absolutely. We are absolutely working on some of those ideas and figuring out how to get those ready for haunt season for sure. We've already got, I think I just uploaded episode 7 here last night. It should be going, one of them went live today and another one will go live next week, but
Nice.
we're getting our foot in the door in the
Very cool.
podcasting world.
Very
It
cool.
is
And
the
then-
Scare Factor podcast, if
Scare-
anybody's interested
Okay.
in looking it up.
Okay. The Scare Factor podcast, right?
The Scare
Don't
Factor
forget
podcast.
that.
We're on Google Podcast, just about anywhere but iTunes. We're not on iTunes yet.
Very
They're
cool.
not as easy to get into.
Very cool. I like it. I like it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love to see Scare Factor continuing to grow, continuing to flourish, and
Same to you all.
and just and thank you. And it's that's one of the things, and I think we'll probably close on this. One of the things that I love about the haunt and horror community more than anything, it would be very easy for Scare Factor and Haunted Honeymooners to just butt heads and go right at each other.
But what's the
But
purpose?
what's the point, man? It doesn't make any
It doesn't
sense.
help anybody.
Right.
And I love this. I love
It
being
sure
able.
doesn't.
I love being able to work together with people and try and make this industry just a little bit better
It's a hot
each and every
family.
single time that we can. And it's always a privilege to be able to talk to you guys. I love you guys to death. I love your stories. I love where you came from. You guys are very similar to us. We started this because we wanted to do consumer or reviews by the consumer for the consumer. That was our whole mantra when we started this. We're the same bro. We don't have a bunch of haunt experience. We've not been haunt actors or haunt owners or anything like that. We just know what we like, and we have
just
tried.
like horror. We know other people like horror, and we want to give the perspective of people that just happen to like horror out
Yep.
there.
And we've been very blessed this year and very fortunate this year and been able to grow as well, and bringing Lindsay on board to handle our written reviews, and she's amazing. God, Lindsay Bacon's absolutely amazing with what she does.
Yeah, she is.
We love Lindsay.
She's wonderful.
Who
Love-
doesn't
love-
love Lindsay?
Who doesn't love Lindsay? And
And
Lindsay,
speaking
Right?
of, get well, baby girl.
get well, girl. I hope your knee gets to feeling better here real soon. Like, if you need any help, Mini Minister will come by and provide you some blessings to help that knee get going. And also Nick, being able to bring Nick on, Science Behind the Scare, and getting us, honestly, a real haunt actor on the team as well, somebody that's got some experience in the industry and everything like that, bringing on a whole new show. It's just exciting to watch, exciting to see, and it's exciting to see you guys doing the same thing, pushing forward, pushing to be better. And before we go, the very last thing we got to do now, Nora, Tyler, you guys have already been knighted, so regretfully, I'm not gonna re-knight you, but we
we have
do
new
have
props.
we do have somebody that has not been knighted. So Brian, your time has come, sir. Your time has come.
Should you
Oh,
choose to
man.
accept it?
Should you choose to accept, Brian, I'll give you a brief rundown as to why I'm holding this zombie hand, holding this beautiful
Holding a
toilet
toilet
brush
brush.
right now.
Oh, we didn't upload the video for the outro.
It's all right. It's all right. The show's still being rebuilt on OBS right now. So there's certain things that are missing that'll be there in a couple weeks. But, Brian, sir, this toilet brush, it's a symbol. It's a marker for what the haunt industry is. The haunt industry is a beautiful white porcelain bowl. And for the most part, everybody keeps it clean.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, Brian, some asshole comes by and he leaves this big nasty skid mark on the side of our bowl, and we won't stand for that.
No skid
We
marks.
won't stand for any skid marks at all. And we have developed, the Knights of the Cleaners of Shit. And Brian, I have been rubbing people's face with this toilet brush for a little over a year now on Facebook, and I want to know.
It was given to us as a gift from a haunt actor
It
who
was.
was afraid of a haunted toilet brush.
He was. So Brian, if you're willing, sir, I'd very much like to indoctrinate you into our our family officially tonight, and make you an official knight of the Cleaners of Shit. But I need to hear acceptance from you, Brian. So Brian, do you accept? May I scrub your face with my beautiful toilet brush?
Can you verify that it's not infected with COVID?
I can't. Can I scrub your face with this beautiful toilet brush?
Fuck it, I'm vaccinated. Go ahead.
I love it. Brian, welcome to the family. Welcome to the team. You are officially a knight of the cleaners of shit. It's beautiful to have you on board. And Brian, as we do with every single fresh knighting, I know you thought Tyler was closing this thing out, but surprise, surprise, the ball's back in your court, man. Close the show out. Tell us where people can find Scarefactor one more time, and whatever you want to say, any last minute shameless plugs, shout outs, thank yous to whomever, wherever,
Simply be
whenever.
boo. Whatever.
It's you, bro. Close the show out, send this bad boy home, and thank you all so much for being a part of this tonight.
Well, you can find the Scarefactor at www.thescarefactor.com. If you listen to our podcast, which is the Scarefactor podcast on www.thescarefactor.com, you'll be able to find it there. We also have a merch store, which is pretty awesome. If you want to put your baby in a Team Skelligar onesie, I don't really know why you'd want to, but hey, you totally can, man.
I like it.
We got them. You can totally do it. Yeah, you know, I'd like to thank Satan, our Dark Lord and Savior, for
love it,
for bringing us here today.
Mini
And
Minister
eat your
approves.
vegetables, and stay in school. You know, like
very cool. Hell, Satan, eat your vegetables, stay in school, and that's been Talking Scared episode. God knows what. Who cares? It's the Scare Factor. Tyler, Nora, Brian, as always, you guys have been
Thank you guys so
absolutely
much.
amazing. We appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. Nick, thank you so much for putting their website up. We'll get that pinned up for those that might be watching later on. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. And that's it. Talking Scared's over. I don't have any cool outro videos right now. I'm sorry. We'll get them at some point in time. So this
But
video.
guess what? You guys are officially the first people to get on OBS since it's been rebuilt and it knock crap out.
I know. It's been nice. It's been nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So blessings to all out there. And we'll end this video
The minister be with you.
with one last little Hell Satan.
Hail Satan.